In the quiet province of West Azerbaijan in Iran, life is shaped by tradition. Here, amid the mountains and valleys, a young girl named Zeinab Sekaanvand was born. But in this beautiful landscape, Zeinab's world was far from peaceful. As a Kurdish girl, belonging to an ethnic minority, Zeinab was raised in a society where the expectations of family and culture would soon weigh heavily on her shoulders. At the age of 15, Zeinab was married off to a man much older than her. This marriage, arranged by her family, was meant to provide her security and a future. Instead, it became a prison. Her husband was not a partner, but an oppressor. In her new home, Zeinab faced daily abuse. Beatings and insults were the rhythm of her life. Her home, once a promise of protection, became a cage. Desperate to escape her abuser, Zeinab sought help from the authorities. She believed that justice would be on her side. But in a world where women's voices are often silenced, Zeinab was no different. The police sent her back to the place she feared most, her home. The help she needed never came, and the isolation deepened. One night, after years of suffering, Zeinab could take no more. In a moment of fear, anger, and desperation, she defended herself. The only way she knew how, by taking her husband's life. It was an act of survival, born from the depths of despair. But the consequences of that night would haunt her forever. Zeinab was arrested soon after the incident. Alone and terrified, she was forced into confessing without legal representation. Under pressure, she admitted to the crime, hoping for mercy, a mercy that was never granted. Promised leniency, Zeinab's confession became a noose, tightening around her with every word. In court, Zeinab tried to retract her confession, revealing that her brother-in-law had coerced her into taking the blame. She spoke of the abuse she endured, of the pain and terror that had driven her to that fatal night. But her pleas were ignored. The court turned its back on the truth, and Zeinab's fate was sealed. As news of her sentence spread, the world reacted in outrage. Human rights organizations and activists around the globe rallied to Zeinab's cause. They condemned the injustice of her trial and called for her release. She became a symbol of the countless women trapped in cycles of violence and oppression. But despite the international outcry, the system remained unmoved. In 2016, after years of waiting on death row, Zeinab Sekaanvand was executed by hanging. She was just 22 years old. Her life, marked by tragedy and violence, came to an end in the same way it had been lived, without mercy. The system that should have protected her failed her, and her death became a stark reminder of that failure. Zeinab's story did not end with her death. Instead, it sparked a movement, a cry for justice, for change, for a future where women like Zeinab are not silenced, where their suffering is not ignored. Her life, and her tragic end, became a rallying point for those fighting to break the chains of violence and oppression. Though Zeinab is gone, her story lives on. It reminds us that the fight for justice is far from over. In every corner of the world, women continue to face the same struggles. But with each voice that is raised, with each step toward change, we move closer to a future where justice is not just a distant ideal, but a reality for all.